And the Honorable, all the jury members, first of all, and my dear students. I think it's, we witnessed a very, very lively debate. And I think I'll just give you a few of the things which come on top of my mind, which, that things that you could possibly take back with you. First come first, I think I was very, very impressed with the, the passion in which the subject was debated. And we had people from all over the parts of India here, so diversity was, at its best, and that's really, really great. I think, if you think about, I just want to talk to you a little bit about, on this topic that we have about intellectual property, and I thought that, best to be, let's talk about a particular live example of a country, which would then perhaps, we can decipher things out of it. So I don't know how much, I'm sure you're all very, very well read. I mean, so let's think about a little bit, I want you to go to Germany, okay? And if you look at Germany, it's clearly one of the, very well developed economies. You will all agree with that, right? Just so you know that Germany has got the largest national income in Europe. Per capita GDP is around $45,000. That compares with ours at about $2,000, right, per capita. Now, when you think about Germany, you will always think about the big branded products, right? Big branded companies, right? Anyone, top companies which come to your mind from Germany? Volkswagen. Anybody else? BMWs. Okay, so large car manufacturing base, which is a very important part of the industry. Anybody else? Anyone? Okay, so again, a part car manufacturing. But if you think about, do you know that they are the largest ones in software? For example, SAP comes from Germany, right? You think about Bayer, right, in the area of pharmaceutical and agrochemicals, again, very, very large, right? But what you would see is that all these big companies, right, and this is what we talk about, these big multinationals, kind of, that's the kind of, sometimes we also ascribe them with a, we look at them with a lot of detesting it as well in some ways or the other. But in reality, all these companies account for only 1% of the GDP contribution towards this particular country. Most of the businesses in these countries are generated by the so-called small industries. And that's really what fundamentally we should understand here. That it is, at the end of the day, it is these small and medium-sized industries which really generate the jobs and the high value-added jobs. And of course, you can see that in Germany, despite the fact that the labor cost would be so high, yet at the same time, they have a very, very strong manufacturing base. So I think those are things that you have to think about. And of course, what you need to know also is that they do have a very, very strong intellectual property regime in place. And that goes in not recently, which was put up. This has been there since, early 1900s. In fact, what you have seen is that the German patent system itself went on to influence legislation in a number of other countries, including those of its neighbors like Austria, Finland, Netherlands, Sweden, and finally looking at some of the other developing countries also which looked at was Brazil as well. So some food for thought, I guess, for all of us over there. Just coming back to, since I come from the pharma industry and I've worked in this industry for over 28 years in a number of different countries and continents, and I'm here at home. Generally what we think is that, again, the intellectual property that the big pharma believes in intellectual property, and that's absolutely important, and that's clearly important because you want to see that those returns investments come in from the billions of dollars of investment that go into making a drug. Yet at the same time, I would be very proud to tell you that if Novartis is the world's #1 pharmaceutical company, we also are the world's #2 generic manufacturer. And I'm sure none of you would have known that. We are the #2, so after Teva, which is the Israeli company, we are the second largest generic manufacturers. And why do we have both the businesses, the high-end, highly R&D intensive organizational and setup, and yet at the same time have a very, very large generic setup. And the reason is very simply, we believe that the world needs the best of both. And that should itself convince you that, that these high need for intellectual property can coexist with the fact that there could be companies who see the merits of also what happens to when drugs go off patent, and yet at the same time high quality medications, low cost medications are required by any nation, right? So we can participate in that. The piece which I think we heard the word a lot about interdependence, and I think that is really what the next era is going to be as far as the Indian environment ecosystem is concerned. I think what you will see is that there's going to be a lot more of these partnerships between the so-called multinationals and the Indian generic manufacturers or branded generic manufacturers. Now, maybe I just want you to correct one thing, which I want you to take a message back with you, is that we use the term very, very liberally, multinationals. Now, if you think about the term multinational, I can tell you that a company like Cipla or a company like, for example, Sun Pharma, they are actually more of a multinational. And you know why the reason is? Because more than 50% of their sales comes from outside India. 80% of their profits comes from outside India. So the connotation that we use of nationalized companies and multinationals, I think that's something that we need to think through a little bit, because ultimately any company, and that's my personal belief, and I'm sure a lot of you as young students, who are, and as a lot of you debated and talked about, that we need to be focusing on creating jobs. So as long as jobs are created, right, the jobs, and that's exactly what our kind of regime and our Prime Minister is focusing on, is how do we go about creating more jobs in the country, irrespective whether the company is a local company or it is coming in where the funds are coming in from the outside, right? So some things to think about, and I would really like to, on the end, I would like to say that, I hope you have all learned, through this. I think I myself was enriched through this particular lively debate, and I would like to thank you for, for letting Novartis, come in and help and support this particular lively debate. And as you can see, we have no vested interest. We have both. We work under a non-patented regime with the generic side of the business as well as the patented side of the business. I would like to also thank the jury here, because I think, you can see that they've all taken time out. I'm sure they would have loved to have been somewhere else and something, a lot more important there as well. But I think the fact that they took their time out for us, thank you, sirs, for being here with us.
Very much happy to be with my friends and colleagues who I have worked with for a very, 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 very long time. So just even a minute of interaction brings back the warmth and the memories which I have lived with. Thank you very much, Kaviraj, for giving me that opportunity. I was actually in Bombay, took an early morning flight and took the afternoon flight, but the traffic in Delhi has taken 1.5 hours to make me reach here. Otherwise I would have reached in time and spent a little more time. There was another event which was posted for 6:15 and I am late for that. So my apologies to rush out in such a big hurry, but to all the students present, I think this is a great way to connect with seniors in profession, to build on your knowledge, and a long way to go. IPR is one field which is still, in terms of money, huge sense of achievement and money. Your seniors sitting in front will certify that. And in terms of satisfaction also, this is huge opportunity, and India is the place right now in the global format. And OPPI event also was pertaining to pharma industry and some 49 odd MNCs which control the world market. And my suggestion to them was that most of these companies are headed by Indians. Most of the research is done by Indians, no matter which part of the world research is going on. So an opportunity for all Indians to come together, because the dream we have is to reduce IMR. The dream we have is to reduce MMR. The dream we have is to give medicine and medical facility to each and everyone, irrespective of the financial status. So these dreams cannot be achieved unless all Indians come together, including the lawyers and people who work in the field of IPR. So when Indians are the ones who are creating most molecules in the world, how is it that India does not have those patents? So we need to work on these policy formulations that let's make the job easier for people who want to register. Let's make it convenient, and ease of doing business is what we need to work at to transform India the way we all dream of. Thank you very much. My best wishes to each and everyone present. And Jai Bharat, Jai.
For me to give a verdict on the topic today, all I have to decide is give one of my opinions here as to who was the better speaker. You're all budding lawyers. In due course, you will become lawyers. But what attracts me most is the enthusiasm with which you have handled the matter. I believe there are students from about 15 institutions from across the country, and for which the organizers need to be congratulated for putting it together. The National Bar Association, right? Being with students is always exciting. Let me say this, that sometimes topics, just like some cases, are loaded against the other side. So it's for you to determine which side is more favored by the topic. Nevertheless, let me say that for a speaker, it is imperative and important to first understand the subject, understand it, analyze it, and then put forth your points. It's not sufficient just to read about it and make it something like a declamation or an elocution. There are some of you who did brilliantly well, and it's how you fielded your questions that shows how well you understood it. For a counsel, it's very important to be able to understand what you are saying. You must feel it. You must actually feel the subject. You must feel your argument. If a judge is going to ask you a question, you should be able to field it properly. That's what shows whether you actually believe in what your argument is all about. Otherwise, it really has no, if you're not convinced about it yourself, you will not be able to convince the other person. It's really been a pleasure listening to all of you. I wish you all the best. Thank you for inviting me.
So what I wanted to say is that INBA is doing this debate for many years, and we have been improving every year. And thanks to Novartis for supporting it, and I hope the support will continue next year also and next year also.
Ask the student what they want.
What do you want? Continued support from Novartis or not? Yes. Okay. So I leave it to Mr. Zia now. The other point is, just as an advice, that when you are looking at IP as a career, do not look at just becoming a good lawyer from the legal point of view, because IP is always in a context. And that, with these words, I wish you all good luck, work hard. And